In January 2025, a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines passenger jet over Washington, D.C., killing 67 people. The pilot failed to turn when instructed, air traffic control missed warnings, broken communications, outdated aviation systems, and systemic incompetence stacked until survival itself collapsed. Here on Aftershow Carnage, we expose through a clip from Viva Fry how a DC midair disaster became the perfect symbol of a system rotting from the inside out.
Captain Rebecca Lobach was running her annual flight evaluation during the crash. The pilot of the military Black Hawk helicopter that collided with a passenger airplane over DC in January ignored instructions to change course seconds before the crash, according to a new report. I happen to think the news is actually worse than this, or at least what we're going to get from the black box transcript is going to be worse than this, but they're getting ahead of the curve by building up to the catastrophic failure to heed to these instructions. That's my belief. I might be wrong. Bottom line, this is what they're reporting today, according to a new report. Report published by the New York Times on Sunday detailed the Black Hawk's exchanges with air traffic controllers in the lead up to the disaster, which left 67 people dead. And by the way, Viva, you don't trust the New York Times until they tell you something that you like. The New York Times is part of propaganda control, narrative control. So if they're releasing this now, it's to soften the blow of what I suspect will be coming a little bit later on. According to the report, the Black Hawk pilot, Captain Rebecca Lobach, was conducting her annual flight evaluation, and her co-pilot, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Lloyd Eves, was serving as her flight instructor. When air traffic controls informed the Black Hawk that there was an airliner nearby, Lobach and Eves acknowledged the message and requested to fly by, quote, visual separation, end quote, a common practice that allows aircraft to avoid collision based on their own observations rather than following instructions from air traffic control. The Black Hawk was, quote, the Black Hawk was 15 seconds away from crossing paths with the jet. Warrant Officer Eves then turns his attention to Captain Lobach. He told her he believed that air traffic control wanted them to turn left towards the East River Bank. The Times wrote, quote, turning left would have opened up more space between the helicopter and Flight 5342, which was heading for runway 33 at an altitude of 300 feet. She did not turn left, the report said. Then we get into the rest. So apparently he told her to turn, and apparently she did not turn, and that's the latest with that horrendous tragedy. And I suspect it's worse than what the New York Times is not leaking, but releasing by way of piecemeal information.
Understand what just unfolded. A pilot in the middle of an annual evaluation was told to turn left to avoid collision. 15 seconds to act. She didn't turn. Her co-pilot tried to correct. Too late. Air traffic control warnings weren't heard clearly. Altitude data inside the helicopter may have been wrong. Clearly, this was not one failure. It is a full system stacked with many failures. And as Viva stated, what's left to be revealed, we don't know. And still, they dare call this safe. Still, they tell you trust the system. They corrupted recruitment. They weakened readiness. They sold DEI optics like it was armor against reality. And now, 67 dead in the sky above our own capital, while the cowards run press releases to hide how deep it truly goes. No, DEI didn't cause this crash directly, but DEI and every other layer of bureaucratic betrayal shattered public trust. When you lower standards for politics, when you celebrate identity over survival, you build a world where even the best pilots can't survive the decay around them. This wasn't just a midair collision. It was a collision between the lie that the system still works and the reality that it's collapsing in front of us. They can bury the pilots, they can bury the wreckage, but they can't bury the truth anymore. Aftershow Carnage will make sure of that.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to Aftershow Carnage.